Hello and welcome to Follow Everton. I'm Ryan. I have the best pundits on the internet here to join me today to talk about Everton versus Liverpool, the Merseyside Derby at the Anfield Piss Stadium. In order, I'm going to introduce, we've got John, I've got Yandelf, and I've got Mabsy, who can't be bothered to turn his camera on today, unfortunately, so I have to just look at us three instead. How are we all?
All good, thank you very much. Nice to be back on the channel. Hopefully be on a lot more in the future, but hopefully that's a good thing for our viewers, and I hope they enjoy listening to me, but you will be seeing a lot more of me in the future.
Excellent. So this is a fixture that normally makes us all feel quite nervous, let's be honest. It's not a particularly enjoyable fixture. Some people say it's one they look forward to. It's the first fixture they look at in the calendar, the Merseyside Derby, when the fixtures get released. But for me, this is one that particularly makes me feel uncomfortable, purely maybe because that their record against us at Anfield in particular is difficult. Ian, have you got any initial memories, first and foremost, about this Merseyside Derby? Have you got anything that springs to mind, the Anfield Derby? What are your favourite memories?
Well, I think if I look in the memory banks very distantly, there's the one or two wins. There's one, Cahill scoring a goal. There's
your mic, Ian.
Yeah. There's Cahill scoring the goal. There's Jagielka scoring that goal from distance to get us something. Oh, that was an absolute screamer. Yeah.
September 2014, 1-1.
Yes, thank you. I do want to point out, firstly, as a caveat, I'm sorry if I'm a little bit not animated today. As Maka pointed out, thank you. It's a bit of a tough day for me today, and also I'm worried that I'm going to be viewed as I don't have that repository of knowledge to fall back on, because my dad would be able to. I'd sort of say, "Shit, I'm going on a stream in 5 minutes," and he'd be like, "Oh God, do you remember this, and that, and this time, this many years ago, and so scored." And yes, so now I have to do my own legwork on the internet rather than just plumb the depths of my dad's sort of eidetic, bibliographic, ridiculous knowledge. So
he would quite literally be sat behind you, giving you the statistic to make you look very impressive on the show. But yeah, I was going to come to that in a moment. Sorry. I will touch on your dad in great detail. Just wanted to get a very quick introduction from you all. But it's the 1-1 draw that kind of springs to mind straight away. That Jagielka strike.
That was a boss shot. That a shame he still doesn't play for us, because that was a very sweet shot, very timely as well.
For me, I think it's the recent win, Richarlison's goal. And the silence. Yeah.
Can we mention that?
Yeah, Sigurdsson. He was an Everton player. He was good for us on his day. Mabsy, your favourite Everton memory of the Anfield Derby?
I think it's got to be the one, during over lockdown, definitely, where, bittersweet. I've always said the one that I don't go to is the one that we're in. And guess what happened?
We won.
A rare win.
And you're not going on Monday, I hope.
No, I'm not.
After the story you told me today.
Due to Everton bloody ticketing website, it's just appalling, and also might say a fix, but we won't go there.
Is that one where you sort of sell or people sell their own ticket?
No, it was quite literally the away ticket. It was meant to go on sale at 2 p.m. on the dot, right? And usually they do, but then, so it didn't go on sale straight away. So I ran the box office. I was 23 in the queue, and then at 2:06 it went on the website. I clicked through, and I couldn't get a ticket. So it looks like the phone sales are all sold out.
Something dodgy going on there.
Yeah, something not right.
John, it's difficult
again. But again, it is the old adage of the shite, not selling 250 tickets less. I think it was this year. Again, not complying with the rules. It's a fucking joke. It's a joke. At the end of the day, we don't. Why have rules and then they can change them on us?
It's typical, isn't it? You've been to most of the away games, and
Yeah.
the one game that for the Merseyside Derby you can't get a ticket to. Jan's just taking 1 minute. We'll bring him back in. Let us know in the comments.
Well, sorry, I do think we need to address the.
I'm going to talk about it as soon as he comes back in. Yeah. Let us know in the comments what your favourite memory is of Everton at Anfield. Jan, give us the thumbs up when you're ready to come back in, please. He's ready to come back in. So also, first and foremost, I didn't want to go straight into it just off the bat, but we have been to Jan Dalfstad's funeral today and said our goodbye. So I think I'm going to open the room up to Jan just to say a few words to everyone here about your dad, and also the people who knew him on this channel. We had the great pleasure of having his company on here. Thanks for putting that on the screen as well. That's lovely.
Yeah. Thank you. It's a very difficult day to try to remember my dad with fondness and ignore the huge hole in my life. I mean, I guess the best way to do is something so I'm not rambling and deterring a lot of people, is to sort of say that what I kind of said that about my dad, maybe in part in the eulogy that I gave. I won't bore you with all the details, but
please do. Dad, I'm sure everyone wants to hear this.
My dad didn't have a single malicious bone in his body, because all he wanted in life was a little bit of peace, a little bit of love, to watch something about a history documentary, to walk in nature, and to say hello to every dog he came upon. And I'm sure some of you thought he might have come across as gruff or odd, but it wasn't just him. He wasn't like that. It was just unashamedly himself. There was just one time he went into work, and the ladies in his work, about halfway through the day, went up to him and said, Daniel, we've been giggling all day. I don't really want to share you with, embarrass you with this, but you've got a pair of odd shoes on. And he looked down. He said, oh, yeah, so I have. I've got a pair just like it at home. It's just, but yeah, it just, I don't know. I did want to say, said we were asking him in the car, and one time he said, well, I'm a happy medium. And I said, Dad, you're not very often happy, and you're definitely not a medium. It was a large bloke, as I'm sure you'll realise from today, needing 6 pallbearers. But I think he didn't love himself very much, because he didn't think of himself as being worthy of a lot of love. But to see the people that came out and the messages of support I've had, and Dave's just said that there. I mean, he came on. His love of Everton came about from a childhood that was so far from happy and what you consider safe and secure and supported. So he poured himself into listening to the radio, getting the paper with the results on and the table, and listening to the scores come in, and he'd tabulate, oh, so and so scored at this time, and and he'd work out the tables and the ratings. He'd go to the football. He'd listen to music. He was sent to a boarding school that he absolutely hated, and I guess in some ways he didn't have that framework or knowledge of how to be a dad. But for someone who didn't have that, I mean, of course, he's the only dad I've had and will ever have. He couldn't have done a better job, because he just gave me love and support, and he never gave up on me.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you for coming as well.
I am raising the glass, by the way. Just also, I'm not on camera, so
anything you want. Can be a bottle of soap if you want, Mavs. I know you're in a dark room.
I am raising the glass.
Yeah, I mean, the hardest part about it is I don't know. Ryan will tell you with the demographics of our viewers and everyone that watches, and maybe it's more representative in the ground these days. But football, Everton, has historically been a middle-aged man, young man's or a man's thing. And there's a lot of, and I'm not being exclusive and excluding anyone here, but I love Everton. Don't get me wrong. I might not strike you as the typical Everton fan, but I love it because it's something that I shared so much with my dad. And in some ways, I think my dad wanted that with his dad. And it's so difficult because not only have I lost my father, but I've lost my best friend. So thank you, guys. Let's get on with this, please.
You know what I mean. I think me and Ry were discussing this. Next season or whenever, you can sit in the park end with us if you want to. That's if you want to. But
we'll talk about this another time. I think.
Sorry,
yeah, we'll talk about that. But he's probably listening to our stream right now. I'm sure, and he's probably saying, "Oh, get on with it now." And let's talk about some statistics for the Merseyside Derby in particular, and also to highlight the position of Liverpool, which you'd find quite amusing. I'm sure
11th.
They're not doing too good this season at all, so we'll come on to that as well. I also want to address very quickly one of the comments here, because you're going to be wondering, where's Dan? Dan's left the show, so we wish him good luck. And if you're interested in joining the channel, we're looking for a new pundit to come on and supplement our wonderful, talented bunch of Gary Nevilles and Jamie Carragers. So if you think you've got what it takes to sit on this screen and chat to shite with us, send a message to Jan on Twitter. He's in charge of recruitment. So we're looking for a new person to come on.
Yes, be warned, gentlemen, that if you do come on, where are we? I've got let's have a quick look at this. I've got a document with a detail. I'm a bit wordy, but it's just all the information you could possibly want. And it's 1,000 words long.
Yeah, quite literally the application. The application form to join the show and the 6 steps. It's quite intimidating, but yeah, it'll be worth it in the end. So, right, okay. Everton come into this game on the back of a 1-0 win at home to Arsenal. League leaders, and they probably will win the league this season. Man City just don't look at the top level. And 1-0 win, courtesy of James Tarkowski. I first want to talk about that fixture and just finally reflect on that moving into the Merseyside Derby, if that's okay. John, from a tactical perspective, it was very, very clever from Sean Dyche. Everyone was expecting a 4-4-2. We went with the 4-5-1 with Decore as kind of like a defensive number 10. And what we did, we stopped Arsenal playing through us, allowed them possession out wide, forced them into little traps, won the ball back, and we were direct. But we weren't just direct. We did play as well, and we were very aggressive, and the players fought for the shirt. So could you add more from a tactical perspective for our audience?
I mean, it's finally what we're looking for, really. Throughout the season, all these teams that have been in the relegation and bottom of the table, like Wolves, Southampton, West Ham, and when we go and play them, all we're doing is letting them through the gap. We're letting them attack us. We've got no control in the midfield, and we don't look set up. We're very, very poor. Whereas Dyche has now just come in and against the league leaders, the complete other end of the table, looking at the potential champions, we've shut them out of the game. We've started to take back control of the midfield. We've set up shop well, and we've defended it, and we're playing our hearts out. Onana, the skill he has and the phenomenal performance he's able to play there, and it just seems like he's able to shift some of the players' perspectives, and we really were able to capitalize on that. We're winning second balls. We're doing better, and I know it's only one game, but if we could set out like that instead and just go back to the basics, because I feel like, again, I've said this about Pickford before, just as a note, but it applies to the whole team in general. We can do some of the spectacular things on an odd occasion, like very well, but then we just go back and falter on the basic things. So if we can really sort out the basics and just go back to playing the standard football and stop the silly errors, then this is how we can actually capitalize, get these either draws or wins, and stop pushing ourselves back up the table.
Yeah, about that, I think if I can sort of say on that, you're totally right about the fundamentals. What we can already see is in the attitude and the reporting and the media from Finch Farm, banning snoods and hoodies. Like, I know you could say, oh, it's a bit daft, but it's all about, get the shin pads and just get on with the job and train. And if you can't put in at least 90 minute shift in training, then how are you going to do it on the pitch? So I think the fact that, yes, run, get knackered, do all these kind of things. And if we start doing the fundamentals, I think I've said this in the group, but I obviously haven't been on for a while dealing with what I've been dealing with. So it'll be good to join you as well, John, because I need to get back into this. It's, I don't want to seem heartless. Clearly, you all know I'm massively emotional. I'm a soft cheese, but life goes on. as I've been told. But so when it comes to the fundamentals, if you focus on strength and fitness, and then the things that are, I wouldn't say entirely secondary to that, but they build on that, like agility and all these kind of things that comes with balance, all that. The skill and the flair, they're great, right? But what happens is if you don't have the strength and the fitness and the legs to continue for 90 minutes, all the things of think, well, I can do this and I've got the skill and the flair, your confidence in that goes because you're not able to compete for every ball, for every, for man on everything. So then what happens is that knocks the confidence, and that's what's led to this change. So in light of that, I really think that I don't want to gloss over potential issues which Dyche will be doing his best to address, because he's had quite a while it's been massively publicised. Look at Everton, they're a complete shambles. We're playing the worst of the team, we're bottom of the league, all this kind of crap. So if you then work on those things, we might have the new manager bounce, but I don't think that it's on the one hand, you don't want to sort of pave over those by saying, oh, it's a new manager, we're going to do fine and we'll build on. But equally, I don't want that new manager thing to invalidate the idea of, well, he's already changed the mentality. That was a completely different team. They were competitive. And people who are saying things like, and I'm quoting other people here, shithousery and, heavy football and non-football and all this kind of stuff. Well, why is it okay for some other teams sometimes to sort of dive and roll around and play off, and suddenly they can use their entire body strength to hold someone off the ball, but the moment someone breathes on them, they decide, oh, I'm going to fall over. Well, which is it? Are you a solid wall or are you a piece of tissue paper? Piss off. Sorry for the...
No, it's good. I mean, the thing that highlights me just on the Arsenal game was doing the basics really well. So stopping Arsenal play, letting them have the ball in areas which aren't so dangerous. The players fighting for the shirt. Little small things, small details that we did well, like having a defender on the line for a defensive set piece.
Crucial.
Important. David Moyes used to have Leighton Baines on the far post. He'd head away 1 or 2 a season that were going in. It saves goals, especially when you haven't got height maybe in there, and someone like Neil Maupay maybe could get back on the line. And also offensive set pieces. The way we took the set pieces, just bear with a sec. The offensive set pieces were lofted into clever areas, like at the back post, where because it's not whipped in with pace, it's very much whoever's the strong man who holds his ground can just dominate and score. Yeah. It looked simple, the goal, and it looks like we've now got that in our locker. Now, in a way, the Arsenal game, the reason I'm talking about that is because, and I'm going to speak to Mabsy, it's the blueprint now moving forward, coming into this Liverpool game. The way, we're playing against a team that like to dominate the ball, that play a high line, that get it wide, cross it in the box, and are very effective. We can take so much from the Arsenal game moving into the Liverpool game. Mabs, what would you like to see Everton do differently or the same? Would you like to come in on that?
To be fair, I feel that this team has always got up for the bigger games. The bigger teams in the league. So I'm worried about Liverpool because obviously they're quite small. So, they need to get up for it a bit more. But seriously, they just need to continue and just keep that tempo up. And Jan's right in what he was saying. At the end of the day, wearing snoods and it's all great. But the best way to keep warm if they're not wearing a snood is to work hard. And that's what we need. Absolutely what we need. And, the work rate needs to be kept up like they did at Arsenal. They need to keep the concentration up and, ultimately play for the shirt.
And what we did do really well, as John mentioned, Amadou Onana's really coming into his own.
Yeah.
And Abdoulaye Doucouré registered the highest running stats of any Everton player this season, running over 12.6 actually kilometers. See, I'm going to get the statistics now. I'm going to be the stats man. 12.6 kilometers in that game, which was, he hadn't played all season. He played 212 minutes or something. Yeah. And he's come in and he's registered a 12-kilometer run, and he completely dominated the midfield against Arsenal. And I actually genuinely think now, talking about this fixture, as we will do for the next 20 minutes or so, or however long you want to join for, our midfield will absolutely dominate that midfield of the park. We have got the legs on them. We've got the energy on them. Liverpool's midfield of Thiago, Fabinho, whoever plays now, they look slow, they look laboured, they look tired. And that's partly why they're in 10th at the moment with only 8 wins all season on 29 points. They've lost 4 of the last 5 games. They've still got a game in hand on most of the teams, but it's been a disaster, hasn't it, Ian, this season? It's been terrible for Liverpool. Great for us to watch. We'd be laughing very much so if we weren't in the bottom 3. But, they've fallen off a cliff. Have you got any idea what you could put that down to?
Well, again, as much as I did often go, and many Blues do, go out of their way sometimes because Liverpool are always on the telly. And sometimes it'll be like, oh, Liverpool are on, I'm going to watch, even though you think they're going to win. But what I think is really the issue is, okay, I'll get the silly thing out of the way, so where sometimes that I'm being serious and I'm not just building up to all this and then invalidating it. But surely they've been caught out with the inhalers, so now they don't have that chemical boost. They're not.
The famous asthma, yeah.
The salbutamol supplies have been restricted.
Oh, God. But honestly, I think that they haven't recovered well from the loss of Mane, and they haven't found the right kind of players to gel. Liverpool historically have a similar to Everton, have a history of getting a few good seasons out of a player, and without Sadio Mane doing the work that allowed Salah to do what he did, he's quite isolated in my mind. Fabinho has lost some of the spark that kept him at the top of his game. And what that all contributes to is, as is evidenced or epitomised by an ageing squad, because you look at their defence and all it takes is that lack of reactions, that lack of speed, those extra inches on the yard that is then found wanting. As has been talked about, football is a game of fine margins. It's a game of deception, and it's a game of if you are then deceived or there's an attempt to be deceived, you have to be constantly quick and switched on and aware. Now, if your defence is ageing and they brought in Kouyate, sorry about this, but what I also think is when he's on the decline and the players expect this sort of ascendancy, I think that Klopp is a good manager for what he was at Liverpool, but I'm starting to suspect that it's entirely possible that he's losing the confidence and the will of the players to fight for him. Because I mean, how old's James Milner?
He looks like his head's gone, doesn't it, Klopp? He looks like he's losing his marbles in the press conferences. John, you're itching to speak here.
But also look at how in the Wolves game, look at how James Milner was looking at Klopp. Now, James Milner is a guy that's joined Liverpool, and you would argue a lot of people.
He's 37.
Yeah,
he's 37.
Even so, that's indicative of a player that's, I would say, past his prime or past being able to compete in the Premier League at the standard that Liverpool want to play at, and considering their stature, and I'm trying to be diplomatic here, deserve to play at. But regardless of his ability, look at how James Milner was looking at Klopp when he was sat on the bench, and the second goal came in. Now, I'll hand it over to John. Sorry about that.
I don't apologise. I just think as well, obviously what you said about Mane, I've said this throughout the whole time that those two have been at Liverpool, and I would much prefer to have Mane in a team than Salah any day of the week. That what he brought, not only could he finish, but he could also assist. Whereas I feel like Salah, he's more of a finisher, but he's been quiet as of recent. And as well, if you look at the Wolves game, which ironically is probably the one time we wanted Liverpool to win because it would have helped us out, and they go and get battered. If previously Liverpool's defence of Van Dijk and Trent and Robertson, they've all been on their very best A-class game. And when you come up against them, you think, how is anyone, even Man City, would struggle to get goals because their defence was firing perfectly on form. Whereas now, Matip looks like such a loose cannon, and obviously the own goal we had, but he just seems to make so many mistakes and errors. Alexander-Arnold, he's dropped off massively as well. Robertson is a bit shaky, but they just don't have the same strength they have in their team. Obviously, now they haven't got Van Dijk's injured as well, and he was huge. Everyone said he was the next best thing, and if he was a striker, he'd be talking about being the best player in the world. But they've signed the like of Nunes now. who has been so poor as well, and honestly has struggled so much in face of goal that I'm not even worried about him when we come up to him. I think this is the best time that we could play Liverpool because they are in the worst run they've ever been in, and we've just had a new manager bounce back and beaten league leaders Arsenal. So I think obviously our position in the league is very poor and we are battling relegation, but I think now is a great time to play them. I don't remember the last time we've had a corner or a set piece and the ball hasn't either gone to the first man in the wall or just gone straight out and the keeper's claimed it easily. We actually scored from a corner and I never thought I'd see the day again. So yeah, there is potential in our team and I'm looking forward to this. You mentioned right at the beginning, Ryan, as well, that, you know, it's a fixture that the fans are nervous about. Obviously we're going to the shite. It's at their ground. But again, I actually feel like there'll be some positivity. And obviously for a derby, everyone is up for it. So I think we've actually got a very, very good chance. And if not, then we'll give it our all and see where we're at.
Yeah, I've got Jeff. Jeff's going to come in a minute. I think he's on a journey, so I'll bring him in a couple of minutes' time. Jeff, hold on if you can. Wonderful comments as always. I'm just going to quickly say hello to the people in the comments. I've got the Blues, Kevin, Toffee Forever, scrolling up, Thorium, Peter Duggan, Kevin Kraft, Mark, Pete. Thank you so much for joining. So many people coming on. I'm going to cross over to Jeff in a moment's time. I'm going to give you my thoughts on Liverpool this season. You're right. Both of you are right. They've lost the spark in midfield. They've lost the legs in midfield. They're not pressing as well as they used to. The defence isn't as solid. Trent Alexander-Arnold doesn't look like he can defend. There's obviously a lot of frustration within the Liverpool camp as well, and that's quite clear with Klopp. He seems to be making every excuse under the book in every single press conference. And actually, the most recent press conferences, I actually looked at him and thought he looked broken. He looked like when an Everton manager is about to get the sack, you know, coming up with any excuse, anything to defend against it.
And we know what that looks like.
He looked like every single game.
He looked like a mess. He looked like an agitated mess who knew that his team was poor and he wasn't doing well. And on that, I have my favourite, Jeff with one F. Hello, Jeff.
Good evening,
hello,
everyone.
Jeff.
You all right, mate?
Where are you heading up to?
Up to Scotland, my mate.
Can you give us a very quick assessment of this fixture?
Yeah, sound. Just first, condolences to Ian. Sorry I wasn't able to come today. Just being working nights, it's really difficult to sort of get up early in the morning to go out somewhere. I just fall asleep driving at night. So, my condolences. And, just chin up, my mate, chin up. Going to the match, I think there's two fundamental things that are the problem with Liverpool. One is they're obviously suffering from some injuries. They're playing without two of their main defenders, so their backup defenders are just not on the same level. But I think that if you actually look at the real problem, I think it's Thiago. He is a fantastic player. He is very skillful, but he is not quick. And what I've noticed is if you watch Liverpool play now, they're trying to play like we played under Frank Lampard, out from the back, slow, between the lines, trying to thread balls through. And the thing that's brought Liverpool success over the last few years is the gegenpress. It's the high intensity, pushing up from defence, wing backs advanced, and then like getting down the sides quickly and getting the ball in quickly. And I think it's the speed that is what's causing them the weakness. Is that they're just a slower team now. And they play in a more deliberate manner, and so that I think, like as Ryan said, the midfield that we've got, assuming that we play the same way, they're just physically stronger than the Liverpool midfield. And I know I've seen a lot of comments from Liverpool fans. They're really worried about this game.
Yeah.
because they're worried about our midfield versus their midfield and just getting out battled. And again, the other the part is belief is sometimes a massive thing in football. When Liverpool won a lot of games because the opposition was scared of Liverpool. And so maybe they played a little bit within themselves, fearful of what Liverpool could do. And Liverpool played with an arrogance and a belief in what they did. And that gives you that edge so that their defence is playing a little 5 yards further back. Your defence is playing 5 yards further forward. The players compressed higher up the pitch, which means that players, the centre-backs, don't really have a lot of work to do because they're not under any pressure because the midfield is so high up and the defence is high up. And I think that's the fundamental issue with Liverpool at the moment. Now, obviously, every game of football is different and we could see a different performance from Liverpool. We've both had a week to prepare. But, I just think that our midfield versus their midfield is going to be the key.
Onana is going to break some people. Like, he's going to crunch them and they're not going to stand a chance. Decore, if he plays like he did against Arsenal, he'll control it. And it's about winning these second balls and these moving forward, because too many times does a ball go in the air and we lose it, and then we're on the back foot again, and then we have to reset our defence, and it's so backwards playing. But if we can actually show some physicality in the midfield and control it well, then I think we stand a great chance. And Liverpool are actually, if you look at the table based on the 2023 year and not before that, so from New Year's onwards, Liverpool have actually got the least amount of points out of every single team in the league, and they've only got 1 point, which again was against Chelsea. But they're not this high and mighty giant that they once were when they were battling against City in the 100-point title race. That is a very different team to who they are now, and we can actually capitalize on this. And I saw one of the comments saying we always say it's the best time to play them, but we never actually get the result. But the point is that maybe we didn't have the team strength. And as you're saying, Jeff, it is the mental game as well as the physical game. We need to go into this game and believe that we can get a result and actually play our hardest, play our best, play under the new manager and play some decent basic football. And I remember
if we do the basics well, John, we'll beat them, because Liverpool aren't doing the basics well anymore.
Exactly. And I think Dyche coming in has actually changed the mindset of the players. Obviously, it's very early to tell, but even in his interview, he said in training, instead of wearing woolly hats and taking it easy, they're putting vests on, they're running how they would do in a match, and they're simulating match conditions. When have you ever seen a player? They're not allowed to wear woolly hats and take it easy in a match. So they're actually putting in the work and changing it to be a match, a real match situation, and just getting the players back into that mindset. And hopefully that will make a big difference as well.
Yeah,
spot on.
Yeah.
So in regards to what Jeff was saying and John, I think is that with Thiago not having the speed, and with defence getting slower, and then it being second string players that are playing, Liverpool's midfield haven't had the freedom to play as they'd like to do, because they've got to think of more defensive coverage for their midfield, which is where we were in this situation talking about how defenders would slot in and cover the slot, because we were concerned about, for whatever reasons, the why and the how aren't irrelevant, but to this point are making them irrelevant. Saying it's irrelevant, that if our defence was bad and we were saying I can't rely on them, or there was no stability or solid or all this kind of stuff, we were saying that the midfield has to play their role. But if your defence is solid, then your midfield is free to be a midfield. And what we've seen is as Decore's coming in, that he's just going in and playing hard. And I think that in relation to, somebody said VAR hasn't been fair to Liverpool, or mentioned about VAR. Eugene said, I think it's VAR that's to blame for Liverpool's bad season. Although, having said that, they've had goals allowed that should have been disallowed.
I read a statistic that said that if VAR hadn't been in this season, Liverpool would be in the bottom three.
Ha!
Yeah.
Honestly, that's it. That's one of my stats. Jeff, thanks so much for coming on and sticking your 2 pence in.
No, it's all right. And just one other thing.
Go
on. I don't know, because I've not seen any reports or whatever, but I think DCL is key. He really is, because we saw what he did. He was only able to do an hour,
He's not trained. That's what we're going to say in a minute. He's not trained.
I'm pretty sure he's out with a hamstring injury.
He's not trained. He's not injured, but he's not trained.
Can I share some information?
Yeah.
Go on.
Jeff, I don't know if this will be of interest to you, but I mean, by all means, thanks for joining. Thanks for your condolences. I appreciate that. And you don't have to apologize for not making it. Like, people have commitments and it's okay. And, Yeah. And the last thing I'd want you to do is come and, I know the situation with work, but even so, the last thing I want you to do is come to my dad's funeral, and then, we'd be doing stuff to plan your funeral. Yeah. But in relation to this, I've heard some information regarding the old club doctor for 40 years. Is it Ian Irving?
Oh, aye.
Yeah. It's not about him. He was obviously a great guy, and the club kept him on for 40 years or so. But what I'd heard is that there are sometimes instances in a football club, and certainly at Everton, and more incidences of this after his departure, where often people within the club, the manager or coaches, would choose to disregard a doctor's opinion that a player shouldn't play to rest an injury, which exacerbates the injury or makes it worse should something happen.
Yeah.
And we've certainly seen that with Benitez being appointed and then wiping out the medical staff. I don't know if that's something that's contributed to our players at some point. Maybe we've got people who, when Alan Irving was there, 40 years, you listen to me, even when they don't, there's still some incidences, but it was increased after his departure, because it may be that there are some people who've been in the club who've seen all this change and they go, well, I'm not listening to Benitez's doctor, or I'm not listening to this doctor. They've only been here a while and they're not Ian Irving, and I know best, and we need this. And it's just a disposable play. I don't know. I'm joining 2 and 2 and making 5. But
I think sports science has advanced a lot now. And back in the day, Andy Gray played with no knees. Players used to play through injuries, but the difference is the pace of the league now is different, and you just can't. You just can't. No, you can't anymore. So I'm pretty sure our medical team are fully aware of what's going on. But a question would be if he's not available. Mopé, I can see us if he plays. I can see us winning the game. If Mopé's the guy starting the game, I'd be looking for a 0-0.
Yeah, take a point. I just want to
what we could do later on in the game. Just curiously, I'll just throw this in here. If that's the case, then why don't we play the set ball? I know I'm not saying lump it forward and long ball, but cross it in. Sub Mopé off after 60 or 70 minutes. Obviously dependent on the game and the tactics and how we're doing. But take Mopé off, bring on Idrissa Gana Gueye, put him in midfield, and stick Onana up front.
No, it's not realistic. I want to.
I'm just being daft.
I want to give some structure to this, just because I'm worried about going off tandem. So injury news. Jeff, stay on the stream if you want. Just mute you. Can you mute yourself when you're not speaking, or can we mute him?
I'll do it.
I can mute him. Just mute him, and I don't know how he can let me know whether he wants to speak or not.
Just bring him in.
I'll ask him a question directly then. Okay, and I'll mute him when he's to speak. I hope that's okay, Jeff. Just because there's a background.
Yeah, that's fine.
Whether it is or not.
Okay. He can mute himself. He's got hands free. Okay, so team news is important. We talked a little bit on the past game. For Liverpool, they've got quite a few injuries. Luis Diaz is a big player. We wanted him. He's out injured. Arthur Melo. Konate is injured as well. He's one of their centre-backs. Diego Jota, it'll be too soon for him as well. Roberto Firmino is out. Virgil van Dijk will be touch and go, but it's very unlikely. Fabinho's got an illness, but he could return. So you're looking at that and you're thinking Jota, Van Dijk, Firmino, and Luis Diaz are big players for them. And it's about time they got some injuries. That being said, they still have the signing of Darwin Carroll Núñez. They also have...
if you're coming up with all these funny names, why aren't you calling him Marshmallow?
They've got Cody Gakpo, maybe. Cody Gakpo, they signed in the window as well. So they've got 2 new players in there who are just not performing. Now, a lot of injuries from an Everton point of view. Everton's injury news is James Garner is not going to be fully fit till March. Andros Townsend, I doubt we'll see him in an Everton shirt again. I've got to be honest with you. He's still out. He's due back in March, but look, he might come back for the last couple of games of the season, but he's not going to get another contract. That's it. Nathan Patterson's close, but it'll be too soon for. Very funny, Peter. Too soon for this game. And Calvert-Lewin's a touch and go one. Michael Keane is also touch and go. The Calvert-Lewin one, as Jeff's alluded to, he is absolutely massive. He was brilliant against Arsenal. He occupied the centre-backs. He held the ball up well. He dominated them. And you'd think against Liverpool's defenders, given the fact that Van Dijk is injured, given the fact that Konate is injured, Joel Matip and Joe Gomez are terrible centre-halves. They are a bad combination of defenders without pace. And I think Calvert-Lewin against them, if he even was 75% fit, I would be playing him. Now, what I'm going to ask in a set was, there were times in the past when players played without training. Now, Mark, thanks for preempting the comment. Mark is saying Dyche says no train, no play. For me, Calvert-Lewin's got to play if he's medically fit. If he hasn't trained and he's not 100%, I don't really care. If he's medically fit, I would play him in this game. He wasn't medically fit against Arsenal. They still played him. They gave him 60 minutes. Those 60 minutes, we could have this game wrapped up against this poor Liverpool team because the confidence is rock bottom. They won't like the aggressive nature and the haphazard, the hands-on approach that we're going to give them. We're going to make it very uncomfortable for Liverpool. Get at those centre-halves, dominate that midfield, sniff out that Andy Carroll lookalike, and I think we'll be okay. I think we can get at least a draw.
The only thing with that is, though, Ryan, is do you sacrifice?
Trying to be positive here. I'm the new Mr. Positive.
I'm well aware of that, but the only issue is, if you're a team in a relegation battle and DCL is the main striker in our team, would you not say that risking him to play 60 minutes in a game where we might not even win? Obviously, you want to try and be positive, but do you risk him and him having a worse injury and him being out the rest of the season, which could harm us much further down the season? We could get relegated, or do you bring him in, or do you, just for one game, we set up the same way we played against Arsenal, and you have someone like Mopé or even Sims, and have someone like that because he could use his aggression and pace as well.
I've got your question.
Very good question. Do we gamble 3 points against our season requirement to get as many points later on with a fit number 9? Yeah. But
this is Calvert-Lewin. He has got injury problems. You can't actually ascertain whether he'll play this game and get injured in the next, or won't leave him out and he'll still get injured next week. He's a player that, if he's available and he's medically fit, i.e. there isn't a risk of serious injury or anything, play him, give him 60 minutes, whatever, like we did against Arsenal. If he hasn't trained, then I'm not so bothered. Football players have got a base level of fitness. He should have a base level of fitness, okay, to be able to come and do a job. We used to play Mikel Arteta in the midfield for us without any training when he come back from injury. Moyes loved him. He just chuck him straight in.
Physiologically, every human being has a different level of tolerance and fitness, and then and some people's ligaments.
But Jan, he'll probably get injured next week. We'll rest him in this game. He'll get injured against Leeds. He's one of those players.
Who DCL reminds me of? A little player called Jean-Philippe Gbamin. Not in the way that he plays. Just
we don't mention that name. Jeff. Just for Jeff, then, we need quick, snappy answers, by the way, because of time. And Jeff isn't renowned for that, but I'm going to ask him a quick, snappy question. Jeff, Calvert-Lewin, if he's medically fit but hasn't trained, would you risk him? Could he play with a painkiller or an injection? Footballers do that.
I think it's one of those where you just have to trust the gaffer, like. From literally what I've seen so far.
And Dyche we trust.
Yeah, basically. And the medical team. Because you've literally got two things. We could win this game and get out the bottom 3, and that could lead to a hugely build up of confidence. And it could change the whole season around. And then, maybe in the other games you could sort of... play someone like a Sims and just put him on for half an hour or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, we need him. So like, if there's a risk, I wouldn't play him because
you think of the bigger picture.
Yeah, I think bigger
You're
picture.
Looking at that Leeds game.
Well, there's 4 games after this game, and those 4 games are all winnable. They're all winnable. There's 3 home ones and 1 away game against Forest. The 3 home games are against Villa, Brentford, and Leeds. They're all winnable games, and if you win those 4, which I know that's a big ask, but let's say you won 3 of them and lost the other, or won 3 and got a draw at Forest. That basically puts you like nearly at the finishing line, you know. And then
Jeff, I'm just going to throw this on your head. So I'm very short of time. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No,
Liverpool have lost 4 of their last 5, and Nottingham Forest, who you're saying is a winnable game, have won 3 of the last 5. Surely this is a more winnable fixture on that basis, or not? And we play them away.
Who they've played,
no, it is. But DCL fit for the entire rest of the season versus risking him and he's out for the whole rest of the season.
He's medically fit, Jeff. He'll be medically fit. He won't be injured.
Yeah, I mean, I like I say, I think it's one of those where you have to trust the player.
There's funny comments here. Peter Duggan saying that Calvert-Lewin's underweight. He weighs 72 kilograms. That's below the minimum average weight for that height. He's more interested in looking more skinny for modelling. And Peter saying, "Don't be." The Blues are saying, "Don't be stupid." Onana, is he underweight as well? Interesting. I need to move on just because there's so much to get through. So we're going to Anfield. We've won 1 in 5. We're 18th in the league on 18 points. West Ham are above us on 19, joint with Leeds on 19. Wolves are 20. Leicester are 21. If we can just get that win and we'll get in away from that little, at least stay with that pack, move up to say 21 points. Around 14.
It's important that we create the gap as well between us and Southampton. Too many games have gone where we have given points to our direct rivals, and it happened last season as well. We've gone and beaten Arsenal. We've drawn to Man City, the complete top end of the table. And then the other fixtures, we've lost to Wolves, who were 20th at the time. We lost to Southampton, who were 20th at the time. And we lost to Wolves, who were 20th at the time. If we just
the only reason they're above us is because of these fucking games.
Yeah, they've beaten us. So this is it. So I think it's about creating the gap, going back to the basic football, setting out for the results that we need. For example, had we set out for a draw in those games, we'd have knocked 2 points off each of them and actually gained a point on them as well. So I think if you look at the other teams' fixtures around us, Notts Forest are actually doing very well at the moment. I think they're like top of the table again from the 2023 thing. They've got the most since January, but they're playing Fulham, so that'll be an interesting game because Fulham are doing very well. Leicester are playing Spurs. That should be a challenge as well. Southampton play Wolves, which is a huge game, and you know what?
Oh, this weekend.
It's at Southampton, but
a draw, the lowest aggregate points is the best, isn't it?
I think a draw would be better because Southampton are still, I think we're 3 points ahead of them. So let's say we get a result, 1 or 3, then it will get rid of that. But it also get ahead of them.
Are we saying that it's...
Sorry, one more. Bournemouth are playing Newcastle. So,
and they'll flake it against Newcastle, won't they? Newcastle will crumble. Are we saying that Southampton and Bournemouth, we are banking on them going down? And although that's not a given, Bournemouth and Southampton spent a lot of money on players that could come good. Southampton will sack their manager and bring someone in. But are we saying that it's between us, West Ham, Leeds, Wolves and Leicester?
It's in our hands. We win our. We can't look at. There's a tendency for Everton fans to spend, constant amounts of time looking at spreadsheets and going, "Oh, if this happens and this happens and this happens and this happens and this happens,
just take it one game at a time."
The fact is, if we win 7 games, we hit 40 points and we stay up.
If we win 17 games, we'll finish about 8.
Yeah. But you just look at the realism of it, and it's like...
Actually, I think we've
got 7 winnable home games.
Finish in Europe with 17 wins.
Yeah, I think we might win the league, actually.
If we win every game and score... Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to go on a mad run now.
Can I just address something?
I was just going to say, you just have to look at these games in blocks, and it's like those 4 games is, if you come away with sort of 2 wins and 2 draws, 8 points, or 9 points even, or something like that, then that puts us, three wins and a couple of draws away from 40 points, and we're sound.
These people arguing in the comment over the weight of
no, that's what I want to address. Right? Just quickly, please. I just quickly want to do this because I'm under 5'11". I'm just like a bit of an inch under 5 or whatever, under 5'11". I'm not going to undress, but I just want to point out to people I'm about 81 kilograms. Right?
Where's this coming?
Right, I am not fat, but I'm not skinny. Right,
ladies, if you're gonna at him, now's your chance.
Yeah, no hip thrusts on the channel, please.
Right?
Oh, he was about to do the boner.
Yeah, none of that.
Right, boys,
anymore.
back to football. Honestly,
right,
I think if you look at the table,
I think it also depends on physique because I've just been told, like I've been I told this at the nurses and the doctors when I was in there with my dad in ITU and stuff. I am not. I mean, on paper, I might be overweight, but I've got broad shoulders. I've got big muscles here. But anyway, that's beside the point.
Well, I'm overweight as well, so join the club. But in the interest of my 5-a-side game at 7:30, I need to move this along.
Yeah, just quickly on what you said. 2 seconds.
Yeah,
you said looking at the table. I really don't think, as Jeff said, as long as we focus on our games and we actually start pushing up the table, that's the main focus. We're only halfway through the season. It's not like last season where we were really struggling and it was only Leeds or Burnley or us that were going to go down and the rest was decided. It is one of the closest relegation battles, all the way from 14th with Leicester and arguably like 13th, 12th with Palace, who are on 24 points. 2 wins back to back, and your season's turning around. So all the way from like 12th to 20th, it is so close. So I don't think really you could say that anyone is guaranteed relegation or anyone's guaranteed staying up. And I think we just have to win our games. Obviously, there is a bit of luck on how the other teams play, but just focus on ours. And honestly, it's anyone's to win or lose.
I think we can do it. I'm being positive, and I think this is going to be another catalyst for the season. By the way, everyone who's watching, please like the video wherever you're watching. Excuse me, whether that's on Facebook or YouTube. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. If you're interested in joining the channel, we have a residency open, and Mr. Miller is currently in charge. That's Yandelf, in case you're wondering. He's in charge of recruitment, and he's got a list of people who've already put the name forward. If you think you've got what it takes to win the X Factor, and sit on a chair with a green screen that doesn't fill the entire camera and go off topic and have an argument about the body type and body shape and body size and get your belly out and your dick out on camera, then actually we don't want that. Please keep away from the channel. But if you're interested, message Jan. So yeah, I mean, we've gone through the team news in terms of injuries. We know who's available. We've seen that Liverpool's form is bad. We've looked at why they're potentially struggling. We've looked at Everton and why they're doing well under Dyche and a few positive things. We'll bring a lot from the Arsenal game tactically into this game. Liverpool's high line, again, hopefully they play with that and we can try and get in behind them. So this brings me on to team news. Perhaps Damari Gray with his little bit of pace. Or do you think it doesn't really matter because we're going to squeeze up the pitch again like we did against Arsenal, very compact, and play that 4-5-1. So I want team news from John. What team would you go with, John? Don't scratch your head. It makes me think that you don't know what you're going to say.
I would play the exact same team, the exact same setup as we played against Arsenal. We've seen that we can get a result against a high team, and instead, up top, instead of DCL, I would start Sims. No. I would. Oh, bloody hell. Yeah, scratch of the head. You know what? I'd start Mopé to start, see how he gets on. But I would have. I don't like this thing where, in the 70th minute we do this, in the 80th we do this. I want a dynamic plan, and as soon as something goes wrong or we need to switch up, you change it. And we need to see this instead of just having a plan A. And if it doesn't work, we switch it and we stop, and we're like, oh well, plan A is out the window. Let's just go Hail
We
Mary,
respond
do
with
whatever.
our plan A.
Yeah, we need a plan A, plan B, plan C. Oh, this doesn't work, we'll switch this, change. It needs to be a dynamic team. So I would start with Mopé, and then if it doesn't go well, I would bring Sims on, maybe as a super sub at the end, use his pace, use his strength. We don't utilize him. And there are other players, for example, Decore, he hasn't played a second of football like the whole season. Frank didn't like him, and Dyche has come in and brought him in, and he was arguably one of our best players. Well, they all played well, but he was up there and he was playing very well. So why not give him a run out, see what happens? But obviously, if DCL is fit and he is ready to play, then I would play him. But if not, maybe, again, if he's clear to play but he's injured, maybe give him a run out later on. But have this dynamic play. We've got options now. We need to use it.
Jan, just coming in on what John said, I'm an advocate for Demarai Gray. I think he's got pace, but it's hard to change a winning team. There wasn't an awful lot wrong with it. And actually, that 11 players, if they play like they did against Arsenal, I think they'll turn Liverpool over. I think they'll nick a 1-0 again in a very similar fashion. So, Ian, are you giving us a compelling case to change the team, or are you sticking with this team, barring the Calvert-Lewin situation?
I mean, obviously, that's dependent on what they do. If Calvert-Lewin is fit to play, and he's genuinely medically fit to play, and he can fit in some form of training tomorrow, because it's on Monday night, and maybe they'll do something over the weekend, then absolutely play Calvert-Lewin. If he's not, go for Mopé, but again, be responsive. And I think that I was torn, but I understand playing Mopé. Play players in the position where they know their jobs, and then rely on other things. And if he's not the greatest of finishers and scorers, get the crosses in, get the tall midfielders in the box, play on set plays and corners, as we've kind of seen. Maybe try working it into the box and misdirecting, opening up and having a shot from 15, 20 yards out. But I think is it worth discussing possibly having a false number 9 sort of thing with bringing Gray into the team and not playing DCL or Mopé?
And just asking Gray to run over the top and we'll play it down into the channels for him. The only thing I worry about that is the whole team structure is based around crossing the ball. So a little overlap from a fullback after we've done a nice little bit of interchange, or it's about getting the crosses into the box. I think if we lose Calvert-Lewin, the only real route to goals is possibly another set piece.
I think my problem with what you've just said is I think the crossing ability in our team is so lacking and has gone so far south. Luca Dean he had much better.
Did we not put some good balls in from Dwight McNeil and Iwobi and Coleman against Arsenal? Because I recall Decore hitting one over and Calvert-Lewin missing 2 headers. I
do, but just as you mentioned, Gray, it came to mind, and I think he's got the pace and he's electric quick. But I feel like sometimes he either does too much and loses the ball, or the crossing that he puts into the box, just we lose the ball out too much. So just as you mentioned, Gray there, but yeah.
I'm also very sorry to say I've got to drop out in 3 minutes. So if you're sticking on to do comments and have a chat with people, then that's fine. But if not, then I'm going to wrap things up. I'm going to give you my prediction then.
Yeah, I was going to say.
If that's okay.
If you give your prediction, and then I can stay on and go through some of the comments or their predictions.
Well, I'll stay for a little bit, but I can't stay too long either, John, because it's been a long
We'll do that. Go on, Ryan. Yeah. What's your prediction?
I'm going to go with an Everton 1-0 win, and it's going to be a penalty to Everton. We're going to get a nice counter-attack, and they're going to knock us over, and we're going to score. And the penalty taker is going to be... just trying to think, have we got a penalty taker here? Dwight McNeil will take the penalty, and it'll be a 1-0 win to Everton. I think we'll snatch it. I think it could quite easily be a draw. I'm the new Mr. Positive on the channel, and
see how long that lasts. In the post-match, will be like, that was dreadful. Never again.
We turned up against this team that's been crap all season, and we've been crap, but our expectations are... No, realistically, I think if we can do the same as we did against Arsenal, so do the basics really well, compress the middle of the pitch, don't allow them to play through us and pass through us. When they do breach that back line, nice and solid, head things away, put your body on the line. Don't be afraid to go direct, because I think that Liverpool hate the direct play and the balls in behind, and that if we can expose the lack of pace with our lack of pace, be okay. But look, I just think if we battle well, we'll get an opportunity in the game. If we take it, I think we could snatch it. At the same time, let's be real, boys. If Liverpool turn up and it's the real Liverpool, they'll turn us over. So we need Liverpool to be, as they've been all season, on their off day, And if they are, we'll win the battle and we'll win the war and we'll win it 1-0. And on that bombshell, I'm going to hand over the reins to you two to fight out. Although there's a founding member here and then my co-host Jan now, so you two can fight. I suggest you let Jan do it today. Give him something to do.
No problem here.
To do what?
I'm only joking, Sean. Don't hit me.
I'm never coming back. Guys, comment your...
John tried to leave the channel. John tried to leave the channel on the WhatsApp group.
Pure joke.
There's been a mass exodus. I'm trying to get him back. No, I'm only joking. There's no host.
Guys, put your comments and score predictions down below. We'll bring them in, see what they're going to be. See you later on. Good to see you.
See you, Ryan.
Jan,
for coming today.
Thanks, John. Thanks. See you later. Bye.
Have a good one. Guys, comment your predictions down below. Jan, what do you think it's going to be?
Well, I mean, Eugene's optimistic there. There is a part of me, genuinely, that thinks that if Liverpool don't turn up, if we play as we played against Arsenal, with that mentality, that desire, that cohesiveness and that movement, and that almost immediate change in fitness levels, then I don't care if Liverpool come, if there's and bring it to us and we lose. I don't care, because then they are capable of doing that. I don't necessarily care if, I mean, of course I'll care, but I won't care. It won't be about the players and the team and Everton. I don't care if we get some stupid VAR decisions, or the referee seems to be biased or doesn't give us a clear penalty and all that. It's going to be frustrating and heartbreaking, but I care about our long-term projection and where we're going and how Dyche is changing the team. So there's part of me genuinely that wants to think this could be 2-0 or 3-0 to us if we bring it and they're not capable. However, I did ask my mum before, mum of Yandalf, she said, we'll win. I was like, well, what's the score? She's like, 1-0. It's like, we won't trounce them, but we'll get a 1-0. And so, you know what? I'm just going to err on the side of caution, because any more caution and considering how Liverpool are playing, considering how we saw our last game and thinking it could be a permanent sort of change, 0-0, boring, nah, 1-0. But if it's any better, I will happily eat my words.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. In the last 5 games, Liverpool have scored 2 goals. So clearly, they are not. Yeah, I know it's music to my ears, but that's the kind of thing. They're not the goal machine that they once were. They haven't got Salah performing as they did. They haven't got Mane. They've got the likes of Nunes, who I feel like every time he takes a shot, it ends up out the stadium. Like he just hasn't got it. And I think their defense is somewhat lacking as well, because they conceded 3 against Wolves. They conceded 3 against Brighton. They conceded 3 against Brentford, and it's just not what they once were. It's a team that's sort of on the brink of collapse in that sense. They've got a lot of injuries, as Ryan has said as well. They're missing their main defender, Van Dijk, and they've got 2 very arguably shaky defenders. So I think it could be an interesting one. And obviously Everton on all firing cylinders, but we've just come back from a win against the league leaders. So I want to say that it's going to be 2-0 to Everton or 2-1. And I would love to see it, especially at Anfield as well. Obviously, it is a big mental game, and it is the derby, and it is away. But if we could really push through this, and just mentally for the players, I think this would be huge, and the fans and for everyone. Obviously, we do still have issues like with the board, but I think just to secure our position a bit more and to win against Arsenal and then Liverpool would just be incredible and a huge boost for us. And it could really be the difference. You know what? It's funny because I mean, if you go and watch a few videos back, how negative everyone was, and especially myself, I was like, "Oh, this is awful. We're getting relegated. We deserve to go down." All these comments, which I actually got a bit of hate for, because obviously I said we deserve to go down. Obviously, like I love our club and I want us to stay up, but it was difficult. But just the positivity that we have now is night and day.
The way we were playing, you are right. The way we were playing, the way that, I mean, the immediate change that also, the fans went into the stadium highly charged. We were all this unity, sack the board, back the team, back the club, back the team, back the team. And that creates a sort of, it snowballs. So that atmosphere was phenomenal, but it was a complete change around. So if we play like that, but how we were playing, we were in the relegation zone. We were losing matches around us. We weren't moving. We were static. We were playing it across the back and out from the back. There was no,
I didn't enjoy watching us. Every single weekend would come around, and I used to be like, "Oh yeah, come watch Everton, enjoy the game." I'd be excited, and I'd go into it thinking, we could win here. Every single time this season that we played under Lampard, I was like, not this again. It's going to ruin my week. I've got to sit and watch 90 minutes of passing around the back, being boring, looking back. I think they forget they're playing football, not rugby, because every single pass either went sideways or backwards. There was no forward movement at all. It was so frustrating. But the Blues are right. I said we'd get 20th. It's true, but we just look like we've gone back to the basics. I know it's only one game, but to go and beat Arsenal, who are in such fine form and are looking to win the league, and they come up against every other team and beat them. It is remarkable how much we've changed.
Yeah, I just think that if you don't mind, so we'll sort of end it, or we're winding up now, are we?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, so what I will say is, I'm sure my dad, if he were here, would have come out with some statistic where, we got a new manager then, and we turned it around, and we escaped maybe Mike Walker, or after Mike Walker and Joe Royle, and and he just said, well, there's a parallel here, and then we played the league leaders and we played this. But I tell you what, obviously it can't be changed, but I wish that my dad could have seen the change that Dyche has had in the team, and how and the fans and the attitude that the players have, because it's something it's something that I really need to see on a personal level. And so many of the fans, so many of us, we deserve more than we've seen, and what we've given, and how we got behind the team even in the face of everything last year. Bring the noise. Keep bringing the noise, and I hope we out-sing and outplay and outfight. Just
absolutely. And that's a nice way to wrap up as well. Hopefully, this will be the start of a turnaround in the Dyche era. Thank you, everyone, for watching. It's been a pleasure speaking to you all. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. A very nice, fresh tattoo from Jan, and a big rest in peace to the man himself. Guys, we've loved having you on. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and it's been an absolute pleasure. I hope you all have a good weekend, and we win against Liverpool. On the Toffees.